This is Meet the Movie Press. It is August the 2nd, 2019. I'm not quite sure how we got here already. On the show today, Serkis for Venom 2, Wan's Horror Return, and the Irishman trailer, plus the box office, Hobbs Shaw, and more. Stay tuned.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Meet the Movie Press.
This is Meet the Movie Press. It is August the 2nd, 2019. My name is Simon Thompson. You can find me on social media at Showbiz Simon. If you are watching this show live on YouTube, you can take part in the chat. Already in there this morning, Blackwalk316, Mark Ballum, Kame Egan, all in there. Diego Ray. Morning, Diego. Thank you for that. With me on the panel, Demetri Panos.
Hello.
Who are you? Where can we find you, please?
Right here in Meet the Movie Press. The Twitter's at Demetri Panos.
Jimmy, welcome back. Jimmy to the O.
Oh, thank you for having
Who
me.
are you if people don't
Jimmy
know,
to
and where
the
can we find you?
Jimmy O, JoeBlow.com, ArrowInTheHead.com, and all those social media things.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Busy week for you. Good scoop this week.
Yeah, thank you.
Was it a scoop or a D-scoop?
Well, it was actually a D-scoop that people were reporting that James Wan was going to direct the pilot episode of I Know What You Did Last Summer, and well, he reached out to me and let me know, no, I'm not doing that, but it's at least we have more from him coming soon. So
Okay, awesome.
No, he is not directing the pilot of that.
So now you know what he's not doing next summer.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, awesome. Okay, let's kick the show off with Andy Serkis to direct Venom 2, ? A number of directors have been sort of in the loop for this. People have been talking. Looks like Andy Serkis may be the front runner right now. Jimmy, first of all, on this, what are your thoughts on this?
I'll say I'm in the weird position that I liked Venom. I really enjoyed the movie.
Well, it's been good having you on the show. Thanks so much. We won't see you again.
I had a good time with it. I'm a huge monster movie fan. And I went in with that kind of... First of all, I love Tom Hardy. I was a big fan. I went in with that kind of idea that this is going to be a fun monster film, and that's really what I saw it as.
Right.
And I get why people didn't love it. I get it's very weird. It's very quirky. It's very funny, and a little goofy, maybe a little too goofy.
Yeah.
But Andy Serkis, yes.
Yeah.
I like what he did with Mowgli. I weirdly enough, I don't know. It just feels right.
Also for me, because with Andy, because he's so familiar with that alternative reality mocap stuff, he really knows. Because of his studio, the Imaginarium in West London, he's been very, very. He knows this stuff on almost a cellular level.
Absolutely.
So I think he understands exactly how you can utilize characters that really rely on that kind of thing to bring them to the fore. Dimitri, on this.
He couldn't do any worse.
Oh,
is the way that I look at it. No, I mean he couldn't do any worse, and I think for Sony, for Sony, they're probably getting him at a good price, right? This will actually be released theatrically, so
which was the plan for Mowgli. But
I understand.
Happen.
No, and look, and to your point, yes, he understands the mocap. What I'm curious is to how he will be outside of mocap an actor's director, like how he will pull performance from outside of when Tom Hardy is Venom, how he will like Michelle Williams, and that's what I'm the most curious about him, and I think he'll do a fine job.
I think he'll
but
do
they
an
just
amazing
couldn't do
job.
any worse than what the previous movie.
I agree with you. I was not a fan of the first Venom, but I know that certainly. I mean, I've known Andy for about 20 years now. I mean, when he was, just starting out as an actor in the UK, he was doing low-level British films, not even sort of top billing level stuff. So I've known him and known how he's developed his career, and he has been very. He spent a lot of time behind the camera, even if not credited, learning the art about how to develop characters, how to build these relationships and stuff. And he is one of he's one of my favorite actors. He really is, because whatever he does, he brings something new.
Absolutely.
So I think he gets it, and I would be really interested to see him given this kind of canvas where he has more money to play with to really develop that. Also, I think for Sony, it's a good move because they're doing very well with Spider-Man. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is doing well for them. They've had, after a couple of sort of stumbles over the last couple of years, Spider-Verse did very well. They are really on a roll at the moment, and I think they're more focused on picking people that are right for the project than necessarily getting a name or someone with previous experience of that kind of thing. People with really unique visions to do this. Jimmy, do you think it's a good?
I absolutely. I love when people think outside the box.
Yeah.
I mean, look what it's done for horror.
Yeah, massively.
Jordan Peele. I like the idea, and like you were saying, he's an actor, and he's such a meticulously amazing actor.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be able to pull those performances out. I think we're going to have a Venom that's more than just a fun monster pick.
Yeah.
I think we'll have something that's a little deeper and a little more. But I don't
something more theatrical.
Yes,
I think, which I think lacked. Well, I mean, I know you liked Venom, but both Demetri and I were not fans. I think for me there were the visual theatrics, but there wasn't any meat to those bones. So is that going to be something that you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that you hope that they've learned from their lessons and that Marvel tends to run a tight ship. So I think that, again, Andy Serkis is part of the Marvel family.
Yep.
So I think that also helps.
I'd forgotten that, actually. That's a really good point.
Yeah, he's part of that family, so I think that helps. And to your point, yes, it's smart for Sony to do this because he is a name, and it's sort of kind of like keeping Andy Serkis in the fold because you don't know what other Marvel projects, whether it be on Disney Plus streaming or another feature. This is a fantastic stepping stone for him, and he could make a better movie.
Yeah.
I think he can.
Yeah.
And look, I mean, the first one, even though you guys didn't like it, was a massive hit. It was a
Yeah,
massive hit.
you can't deny that.
So like that, that shocked everyone, not me. I knew it would be.
Well, if it's
because I was there with audiences who were having a great time.
I won't name who it is, but I was actually at a dinner in Beverly Hills last night, and I was talking to a senior figure from Sony. This was an example. We were talking about various movies that they've marketed over the last couple of years, and it was a really big surprise that,
surprise for everyone,
because it wasn't a great movie. They were like, the fact that it was so successful.
It wasn't that bad though. Like I feel like
I've seen worse.
I've seen a lot worse.
It kind of was.
It wasn't.
It made me angry.
I had a good time. Which a lot of these superhero movies, I don't have a good time because they take themselves so seriously.
Yeah.
I love that aspect, and I love monster movies. That's what I got out of it.
It certainly didn't take itself seriously.
No,
it was
it
a
did
monster
not.
of a movie.
Oh gosh, how dare you?
A lot of people,
dare you?
a lot of people in the chat talking about this morning. BlackRock316, good morning to everyone. Saw Hobbs and Shaw last night. Kind of wish I didn't see all the trailers. We're going to get to that later on.
Yeah.
Mark Ballam's in there. Hello, Cama Egan. Good morning. Mark saying, can someone tell me why there is so much speculation stuff in fandom videos now? Why can't we just wait and see? That's something we discuss on the show on a regular basis. Seriously, it really, really is.
It's killing the surprise of going to movies, man.
Well, it's just killing everything. Like,
yes,
just let the movie come out and judge for yourself and see, like, why?
Yeah.
Why? Forget the fan speculation. It ruins a lot, and there are some websites that say this needs to happen in the next ABC movie, and it's like, no, it
Nothing
doesn't.
needs to happen.
Nothing needs to happen.
Yeah, no.
Like, that's what you think. Stop.
To me, it's the cinematic version of looking for your Christmas presents.
It is. That's a great example.
And then you go, and then on Christmas Day, you're like, oh, great.
Yeah.
Take it a step further now, but you think like you found your Christmas presents and you in your head have a theory as to what that Christmas present is, and then you open it up and it's a sweater, or something, or it could be a really cool bike, but you wanted a hockey table. People get in such a fervor with their fan theories that when it doesn't come to fruition, they get pissed.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, they're not making the movie for you.
Yeah. No, it's true, and there's so many. I mean, there's so many other analogies that we could
and
draw
it
with
kills
that.
the joy. It just kills the joy of movie making. Going to see a movie. I honestly avoid trailers a lot of the time.
Yeah, I do, or I watch one and then I leave it the fuck alone until it comes out.
Yeah.
Film nerd Jamie talking about Venom. It doesn't matter who directs Venom 2. Respectfully, it made a lot of money, but people walked away not liking it, and the sequel will drop hard. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I think it'll be a bit of a harder sell. It always is with these movies. Another good example of that is Annabelle, and when the sequel came out, which was a prequel, was markedly better than the original Annabelle movie. but it was a hard sell,
Right.
because the first one
That's true.
sucked.
Ouija, Mike Flanagan's
Another great example.
to Ouija, yeah, and it could be, but the only difference here is that we have a Marvel character, so it's Venom, and I think that the fandom can forgive, and I think a lot of people you did enjoy Venom. I've spoken to a lot of people who really enjoyed Venom. I'm like, okay. I'm not sure it'll be as hard to sell as an Annabelle.
No. Well, Annabelle was horrendous. The original Annabelle was horrendous.
But this one, I think, with the right marketing, and if they actually made a good movie, I think people are going to come back and then forgive and go, this was a good sequel.
I'd be happy if they made a good movie and people didn't turn out, because at least it was a good movie. Chad Schultz saying Blair Witch 2 was better than Venom. Uwe Boll would be better than Ruben Fletcher. Wow, Chad. Wow.
That's Doctor.
How does he really feel about it?
Seriously, I seriously hope that Ruben Fletcher has health care, because that burn is going to need some treatment, some serious treatment. Chad Schultz, I'd actually like Mogul better than Disney's Jungle Book. A lot of people did, actually. Mowgli, which is on Netflix now, is a pretty good movie.
I think it's a better film.
Yeah, if you want to check that out, you really, really should. It didn't get the love that it deserved when it kind of snuck out. And as Demetri said, it was going to be theatrical, but it got bought by Netflix. Chad Schultz, if I remember right, didn't Serkis do assistant directing on either Lord of the Rings trilogy and or Hobbit trilogy? You are correct.
Yeah,
he did.
Yeah, he did.
He's always shown an interest in making movies. And Peter Jackson and he get on phenomenally well, and they've got a lot of history together.
Not a bad person to learn from, by the way.
Great, especially when it comes to this kind of movie. I mean, this big fantasy stuff. This is great. Okay, we're going to move on. I want to talk about director James. Thank you for your comments on this, by the way. Director James Wan is going to return to horror with his next film. Jimmy, take the lead on this one. I know you have a good relationship with James, and you love James's work.
I do.
What are your thoughts on this? Because we know James predominantly for horror. So while personally I'm very excited to see him return to what we perhaps know him best for still, some people might think, when you're being so creative with stuff like Aquaman, whether you like it or not, why go back and do more of the same? So your thoughts on this?
He loves it. And here's the thing, James has a passion for horror. He's not embarrassed by his horror career. Because a lot of these guys, they'll make a great horror movie and they'll be like, this is really not what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I don't want to make genre movies.
Often people were given horror movies because horror had a bit of a bad reputation. Was seen as if it was shit, it's horror, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Yes. So James is one of those guys that I think many James Wan fans are like, we can't wait for another horror. I would love to see him do The Conjuring 3. I would love that.
Amen.
But what excites me, you notice he only does the first two. For Insidious, he did Insidious 1, Insidious 2, Conjuring first one, second one. So whatever he does, I think there was some rumor that it was a Nightmare on Elm Street reboot.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's probably a rumor. I don't know. Again, it's another speculation. I want to see him do horror, but I want to see him do everything. I think he's one of those guys that's proven he can do a Fast and Furious movie. He can do a big budget superhero movie, yet
people forget about Fast and the Furious.
Yes.
They forget that he was part of that series.
And here's the thing. He did one which probably was the most difficult to make. Paul had just passed. How do you deal with that as a filmmaker and say, yes, basically one of the stars, a beloved star of this very popular series, we got to figure out what to do with him. That is the hardest thing to do, and I don't think he could have done it any better.
He did it with great aplomb.
He did an amazing job. So whatever you do, James, I'm there. I'm excited to see him return to horror, because that's
he's also a really fucking nice guy.
He is a really nice guy.
Yeah.
He's one of the nicest in this business, and that's why I'm like, and his horror has such an element of fun to it, and like whimsy, and I can't wait. I can't wait.
Demetri on this.
Yeah, I mean, I think for him, I think he always loves to go back to lesser of a budget. I believe that he is more creative when he has lesser of a budget.
Yeah, I agree.
He doesn't have to fight with studio heads. So yes, horror is his wheelhouse. I like when you watch and chart his career, he was doing a lot of the horror before he got to Fast and Furious. And then he proved he can do big budget, which probably got him the Aquaman gig.
Yep.
but yet he still returns to doing, like that smaller budget. And in my mind, again, working with James, because I was at Lionsgate, we released the first Saw.
Oh, wow.
He enjoys that creativeness. He likes to get his juices flowing, and how can I move the camera around? And that's what excites me about it. And if I read the article correctly, it's going to be like an original horror.
Yeah,
so
that's
maybe
what
not.
I hope it's not a remake. I would rather it not be a remake.
And he's great at that because he knows the beats so well, and we know that we're going to get creepy camera. Like, we're going to be looking at things in such a way that we've rarely, if ever, have seen them on screen.
Yeah,
that's where he knows how to add to the scare.
Yes.
It's one thing to make a jump scare, like put the camera up where something wasn't there, and then
play
it's there
some loud music,
and then that person jumps from the.
No, he works with
adds to the
suspense.
scare.
He works with suspense. He makes it palatable. You feel it, and you're
He's
like,
great.
oh. Yeah,
but you really notice that when you look at even within the franchises and stuff that he set off. When other people try to do exactly what James is known for, there's just something missing.
Right.
There is an innate, natural ability to get those jump scares absolutely right.
That's where the first Annabelle failed.
Yeah,
Yes.
Because
100%.
it tried too much to be like him, because it was the cinematographer for him, and he didn't have James's creativity in making that scare work. Where the other directors thus far, it's a little bit of salt and pepper of James Wan, but not trying to mimic him wholly.
So before we move on from this, so what type is this going to be? An original horror? What type of story would you like to see James Wan tackle? I mean, would you like it to be something along the lines of a Jordan Peele style, a bit more social? Would you want it to be original horror, kind of like Amityville, inspired by something that was a real event? And obviously Conjuring and stuff like that.
Technically, I mean, if you look at Insidious, it was very heavily based on, you could say, Poltergeist and Carnival of Souls.
Yeah,
even.
yeah. Fuck's a great movie.
A great movie.
That is a great movie.
So what I want to see James Wan do is something that is unique and fresh to him, and it's a challenge. Because, like you said, when he likes challenges, and that's what excites me.
Yeah.
I don't care what it is. I just want James Wan horror. I really do.
How about a monster movie?
That'd be
You love
amazing.
Monster movies, right? Like a
Right?
good monster movie. It would be great. I would love to see him, like, if we're talking remakes, he would be great to do a remake of, like, Pumpkinhead.
Yeah,
but it won't be
great
Pumpkinhead,
movie.
it'll be original, but I think he could direct to get out of the supernatural for a little bit, even though they have monsters in it.
Yeah.
But it would be great to see him do
What I'd like to see him do is something that very few people, I mean, there are none that come to mind, but do the horror. We all do it from the people who are here in this realm and do it affected by the other realm. What about flipping it and doing a horror movie, but from the POV of the protagonist?
The bad. Well,
bad
it's been
guys.
done before. I mean, you could look at Hostel 2, which it technically had that aspect of
Yeah,
it.
kind of.
I'm trying to think. Devil's Rejects.
Good. That's a good point, actually.
You know?
That's
so
a good point.
it is done. I don't think that's his style, because the thing about his movies is his antagonists and his protagonists are very clear, but it's I don't know. There's something kind of, even like, especially like, I think Conjuring 2. One of the bad guys is actually, you find out that it's not really what you think, and I like that. I like he does what he does well is a human element too.
Yeah, that's
he
true.
has actually good characters. So I'd kind of rather see another. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Zeno, I was saying, if Jimmy wants to impress, he would get James Wan to call in right now. Lol.
James, call.
Yeah, sure, but I mean, James, you're more than welcome to call in. That's absolutely fine. But I think he's working at the moment.
He's busy.
Yeah, Jenna James, what about Wan for Venom 2? Interesting. Maybe not now, but you know, maybe something in the future. I'll be interested to see that. Sure. Film nerd Jamie, Wan's heart has always been in horror, so this is nothing but good to hear. Chad Schultz, I always will think that scene in the first Conjuring where the camera is going all through the house, where characters on different floors, is freaking cool.
Yes.
Stunning bit of
Amazing.
cinematography. Mark Ballum, jump scares are so cheap. No, I disagree. They can be
depends on
cheap.
how
It
they're
depends on the
used.
yeah,
it depends on how they're used. If they're
yeah.
used with just loud music, just to shut.
It's the same
freak
as
people
gore
out,
in
it's-
horror movies.
Yes.
You can throw blood around like it's, spunk in a sperm bank. But,
that's a great movie, by the way.
Spunk in a sperm bank.
Yeah, I love that
it's
one.
New on Netflix. It's
it.
a Wayans movie.
You should catch the sequel.
But
Spunky.
But I think it's a case of if you use them effectively and you know how to use them and do them well, they could be the most powerful thing.
Absolutely. Event Horizon is
a great example.
Of
oh my gosh,
jump scares.
Yeah.
Like that director uses loud noise and loud music to make.
But that movie works.
Yeah,
movie works.
Simon, it would be neat if one tackles a vampire movie or some other mythical creatures. Yeah, I think great idea actually. I would love to see that.
Robert Eggers, wasn't he supposed to redo Nosferatu? I
believe so.
Yeah, I don't know
so.
I haven't heard anything on that.
And James Wan doing a science fiction horror movie, making the new Alien. Now that would be something interesting. I would really be interested in that. I do love sci-fi horror. Okay, thanks for everybody's input on this. We're going to move on now to a trailer that really had a lot of people talking this week. The Irishman trailer. A lot of people have been waiting for this for a long time. Martin Scorsese, his crime epic that reunites De Niro, Pacino, and Pesci.
Yeah.
Say fuck you at the drive-through. Say fuck. Okay. Whatever, Leo. Yes.
Leo, whatever you want.
So
Leo gets.
okay. I'll be honest with you, on Demetri, I want you to take the lead on this one. I was very happy to see this. I think I wasn't as overwhelmed as some people were with joy about this. It's intrigued me, and I'm on board, but I really want there to be more than this. Demetri, take the lead.
My first initial thoughts were Hoffa by Danny DeVito. We sort of kind of had a Hoffa movie.
Great movie, not seen by enough people, by the way.
No.
I didn't like
it. It was interesting because you watch it on a computer, and I'm not sure how and if it'll ever see the light of a silver screen on the big screen. It looked like a Martin Scorsese movie. I hate to say that, but everybody loves the Martin Scorsese gangster film.
Yeah.
No doubt. But this guy can also direct Hugo. He can direct Little Women. He's directed he's directed documentaries. He did a Rolling Stones thing not too long ago. Yeah. Seeing him go back into this, it looks like a Casino.
Yeah.
To me, not Goodfellas, and a lot of people love Casino. I'm not smashing Casino, but it's just not Goodfellas. And the de-aging. A lot of people were talking about the de-aging of Robert De Niro. The technology has come a long way for sure, but the one thing they can't get is the eyes. There's always the shine in the eyes. You notice it in Tron Legacy.
Yep.
When Jeff Bridges, they de-aged him, and there's just something about that doesn't work. I'm not sure how it'll play out in a larger story. Look, it's great to see all these actors come back again, and it's great to see Scorsese. You know that Netflix is going to pour probably even more money into an Academy campaign
for sure.
than they did for the Alfonso Cuarón movie, which is kind of sad. I mean, they're just going to dump a ton of money into this. You want the movie to be good. I'm not sure we're going to get the pinnacle of a Scorsese movie. I think it'll be good, not fantastic.
It's hard to recapture when we've already seen many of these people giving what are effectively some of their best performances of their career, and then bringing them back to do something that is very, very similar. It is going to get a theatrical release. There is going to be limited theatrical on this, which is going to be good. And again, I think with movies like Roma last year, I chose not to watch that on Netflix. I chose to go and see that in the movie theater. But I was talking to an executive last night at this dinner that I was at, and they were talking about the fact that while there are people of a certain demographic who are very, very keen to see this movie, so kind of people of our age and, men, their Netflix is obviously where it's landed, which is a very younger demographic who don't have that association with Scorsese or De Niro or Pacino or Pesci. I mean, they're like, some will be, who is Joe Pesci? They won't. They don't have that association that we had from the 70s, 80s, and 90s Joe's been away for quite a while, effectively.
Yes.
So you've got to get this young audience involved in it who are clued in enough to know what it's about, to want to see it. It's a bit more self. So it'll be really interesting to see the audiences that go, and then if there's any data released, to get an idea of who is really watching this. Jimmy, your thoughts on the trailer?
Weirdly enough, see, I grew up on Scorsese. I grew up watching. I mean, one of my favorite movies is Raging Bull. I think it's a masterpiece, and a Taxi Driver. I loved Goodfellas.
Being remade as a Lyft driver. Now, Lyft driver.
Yeah, I know exactly. Here's my thing with
in the same universe as Stuber.
I've been a little bit disappointed with a lot of Scorsese's modern career because I feel like it's just made for Oscars. And while this one clearly, in the ad campaign, Oscar winner, Oscar winner, Oscar winner, I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm officially excited. It felt like, because I love Goodfellas, and honestly, that I don't mind him kind of returning to that just because it's been so long.
Well, also I've been revisiting a lot of classic cinema in the last couple of months, and I've been really exploring the 1970s, some of the movies from the 70s, and there is a richness to the storytelling from that era that I think we saw in things later on like Goodfellas and Casino, but we often lack in movies these days, where there can be great movies that can be really enjoyable, but there's that richness that's missing.
It is.
I feel like it's going to be in
and this is
I feel
a
like
return
it's
to
going to
that.
be here. Yeah, I feel like it's going to be one of those movies that
I don't know. I don't know. Is this gonna? I don't know if this will reach the levels of even like a Departed, which I love.
I think it simply won't do that purely because of the format that it's on.
Right.
Because
and to
you
me,
get that with theatrical.
Yeah, you're at that, and I want to go there because to me it was a shame that Paramount let it go. Because you are talking about Martin Scorsese, but Spielberg has talked about this a lot too, where studios are like, it's hard to get for like even a Spielberg to get a movie done unless it's a certain. And it was hard for him to get Lincoln done, and it's Steven Spielberg. So if Martin Scorsese is having a hard time getting a gangster movie off the ground at a major studio, that to me is kind of a shame, and it's kind of sad. And then Netflix swoops in, spends a ton of money as they always do to get it for their brand. Oh, it's just interesting. It's just fascinating where we're going.
I think people will tune in, though. I have a feeling about this. I think they'll really tune in, though. I think it's going to be a massive hit.
It'll be really interesting to see who it's a massive hit with and how much he's rewatching.
Exactly.
I think
you think it'll be Bird Box?
I think it'll be maybe.
Yeah,
because maybe.
Bird Box.
Yeah,
Bird Box, like how big Sandra Bullock was.
But the thing was, remember at Christmas time, so they had Roma, right? They spent a ton of money on the campaign, but Christmas and New Year's week, what did you hear about? Bird Box. You're nothing a Roma, even though they're spending a ton of money. But Bird Box went
because
away
the demo of the average Netflix audience is skewed differently.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
I mean, Perfection did really well. In that,
Perfection did.
Yeah.
But a lot of these things are again they're
genre
and they're blips,
well.
they're weekend blips. That if they were theatrical, they'd be in for 1 week and they'd be out by week 3.
Normally I would be like, yes, absolutely, but I don't know. I have a feeling about this one. The trailer, I got it. I'm full in. I can't wait.
I think something that's going to be really interesting for Netflix is after this is, I know they don't usually release data, but if after this they release data and they can show that Netflix, which is it's still doing well, it's still growing, but it's certainly got a couple of issues at the moment.
Yeah.
That Netflix is not just for the younger demographic. It is still making content that appeals to the older demographic, and I think that because documentaries do particularly well, which tend to skew to an older demo than a younger demo.
Absolutely.
You've got a lot of features which are tending to skew for that middle to lower end. But if you can start showing that if you create this more mature content, that Netflix can actually conquer that part of the market as well. Because a lot of that stuff tends to go more the way of Amazon Prime.
Yeah, that's true.
The stuff that's a bit more mature, a bit more adult, a bit more highbrow tends to go that way, and it tends to be, the popcorn movie crowd pleaser, disposable stuff.
All the A24 movies.
I'm curious to know what their theatrical window is going to be.
Yeah, me too.
Like, are they going to do a month? Are they going to do 2 months? Or I forget what Roma was. I think Roma was 3 weeks, I think. So I am going to be curious and watching that to see what their theatrical is. Again, though, unless they're able to convince the AMC, Regals, and Cinemarks of the world, it's not going to get that play. Landmark will play it.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure on Alamo's policy.
But if you can get people like New Beverly, and I mean, New Beverly at the moment is showing pretty much nothing apart from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, because it's Tarantino's movie theater, and it's a great place to see it. So they're showing occasionally the odd little extra movie, but it's pretty much that for a month. If they can get someone like the New Beverly to get behind it and play that as a month-long thing. I mean, they've got a relationship with Netflix because they did Oster Shaw a number of years ago. That's where I went and saw it in the big screen. So there are enough of these picture palaces that I think can actually bring it on. It's not really the kind of thing you want to go and see in a multiplex.
By the way. I miss those.
Dude, I had a conversation with a friend of mine today.
Wow.
I need to do some stuff in the chat. Xeno Hour, is the Irishman Marvel or DC? It's DC. It's definitely DC because it's more moody and broody.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. It's actually the Irishman. Not the Irishman. It's the Irishman. Like Superman, Batman. Irishman. Yeah.
Well,
What are your powers? I'm just getting feckin' drunk. Arse. Film nerd Jamie, I can never pass up another crime drama from him, but this feels like warmed over Scorsese, and I couldn't tell any de-aging on display. Interesting. The Blair Bitch Project, welcome to the chat. No, it's good to have you along. New person, I think. At 76, Scorsese is at the top of his game. He's a goddamn marvel of modern science. Okay, Chad Schultz, hands down, worst use of de-aging was Patrick Stewart in X-Men Wolverine. I can think of some other terrible ones.
That was bad.
That was bad, though.
That was bad.
Jenna James, the DC and Marvel fan in me, wants to see Scorsese do a film with either, like maybe Blade, Nova, or GL. I'd love to see Scorsese do something like that, but I don't think we're going to. I think if we ever see Scorsese enter that comic book world, you're going to see something like The Joker from him. You're going to get that kind of, or Logan or something like that. Yeah. You're not going to get something else. Scorsese has never been shy to utilize the newer tech in movie making, Blair Bitch Project there, and I feel the opposite. I really love Scorsese's recent work. He found his groove again with the Leo series of movies. Eon 001, someone do Deathstroke. What a waste of a character. That's slightly off topic, but Netflix gets bootlegged so quickly. That is a really good point, actually. Xeno Hour, I'm watching The Irishman at home. I respect anyone who wants to watch it on a big screen, but I just got a really nice smart TV and I can save a few dollars too. And I think that'll be a driver because people have already paid for this movie as part of their subscription. But personally, I really want to go and see this. One of the things that I didn't love Roma as much as some other people, but it really, the sound design and being absorbed in the big screen was a completely different experience to me than watching Roma on Netflix at home. It really changed that. And it made that movie appeal to me more than I think it would if I'd watched it at home.
To that gentleman's point, though, like I was thinking about this earlier in the week, like Netflix, when they release a movie theatrically, they're sort of kind of double dipping, right? Because they're getting some semblance of the box office, and they already got you coming for the monthly subscription. It's what is it, $12.99?
Clearly, they know what they're doing.
Well,
to a certain extent.
That's probably how they are able to afford to spend. What was it? I forget how much they paid for this, but it was a ton of money.
It was a couple bucks, yeah.
Interesting saying that we're going to move on from this in just a second, but the Blair Bitch Project saying the established studios are averse to risk, whereas Netflix is not. This is true. I mean,
that's very true.
This is as much as putting out something that they believe is great content, but also it's a great advert for Netflix.
Netflix releases a lot of different types of things, so they don't. There's not like just we only do this, we only do that.
Yeah,
and you see a lot more risky projects on Netflix.
Within the past few weeks, it's been in the news. Their subscribership has actually, for the first time ever, came down.
Really?
Yep. So their stock actually kind of dipped too, and they also came out publicly to say that they're going to start curbing on their spending for picking up these projects. So it's interesting. It looks like they're going through a minor transition. You never know what Disney Plus, I think that Disney Plus has them kind of scared, and everybody else is coming out with their streaming service. But I think the three are going to be the Disney Plus, Netflix, Amazon Prime, and then Hulu is in there. But that's also Disney.
Interesting, though, and I'm going to move on from this, but it's interesting to see that Disney have pushed some of their writing resource towards Hulu in the last week, which is very interesting. So that's starting to really consolidate. Moving on to It, Chapter 2. It's going to terrify audiences for nearly 3 hours. That is
That's a long horror
movie.
That's a long horror film.
That is a long
How
horror
long
movie.
was the original? The first film was about 2.5 hours.
But
if I remember correctly.
what, the one that was out a couple of years ago? Yeah, that was like 2.5 hours.
Yeah, so it's not terribly different from the first film.
Yeah.
Clearly, the first film worked for a lot of people.
It did, and I'll be honest with you, even though I think a lot of movies these days are too long, if you've got a really good movie and you need it to run for 3 hours, then let it run for 3 hours. But unless you could trim 30 minutes out of it, then do 2:30. But if you really think you need 3 hours to tell this story, I'll give you 3 hours.
Well,
it won't put me off going to see the movie
no,
at all.
not at all.
No.
Not at all, because I had such a great experience with the first film.
my God,
And because now we're also, look, you're dealing with the kids that everyone liked the cast in the original film.
Yeah.
You have this new amazing cast, this amazing group of actors. You know they're going to utilize the young cast too in some way. So I think you probably at least need that lane. You might need the lane.
Yeah.
Simply because it's a huge book and it's a wonderful book. There's so many great details that I really hope they put into this film.
Yeah.
And I hope they improve on the giant spider from the TV movie.
Well, yeah, do you know, half of me thinks yes, and
love
half
that
of me
spider,
thinks
though.
no.
So the fever dream orgy at the end.
That may not happen.
I don't think
may
that's
not
gonna happen.
Wow. What a fascinating book.
It's a very
It's a great
fascinating
book.
book.
It is. It really is.
I remember, God, it's one of the first Stephen King books I ever read.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it was, it blew me away.
Yeah.
And I kind of
fantastic
like the original TV movie. It's
Me
kind of
too.
chintzy.
I
do too,
It's good
actually.
fun,
Tim Curry, though, is fantastic.
Oh, he's amazing.
He's amazing as Pennywise.
Yeah, I mean, look, that movie has some faults, but there's some legit creepy moments.
Yeah,
Think about it as a television movie, though.
Yeah.
But when you say it has faults, what are you comparing it to? Because at the time when it came out, we didn't have all the streaming,
No.
right? It was a ratings powerhouse. And when you look at the stardom that was in that show alone, you had Harry Anderson, John Boy, Richard Thomas, I believe, Tim Curry.
Olivia Hussey.
You had an amazing cast.
Yeah.
Of television superstars of the time, and again, it was a ratings powerhouse.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you think about how many TV movies have gone on to become effectively like legacy movies.
Yeah, that people still talk
That
about
people
today.
still talk about. I mean, you got
That doesn't happen.
Salem's Lot. There's like a handful.
The Stand is just
The
about
Stand,
to be released on Blu-ray.
So
for
there's
the
a
first time.
handful of these that actually then have the legs and the legacy that a movie does.
Most of them Stephen King.
Most of them
ironically.
Stephen King. A lot of them are. It's incredible.
The miniseries.
But so 3 hours. I mean, I want to make sure that it's not overstuffed, but it is one of my most anticipated movies of the year.
By far.
In terms of opening box office, where do you think that's going to rank in the year? I think it's going to give an opening box office weekend of top 5 proportions for this year.
Absolutely 100%.
Which would be impressive in any year, but this year we've had some fucking insane opening weekends.
Yeah,
And then like a
crazy.
huge drop between everything else.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to see top 5 of the year.
I think
I
so,
think
too.
there's a high anticipation level, again, based on the love of Chapter 1.
Yeah.
So it should do equal, if not a lot better than Chapter 1, because Chapter 1 had great legs considering we're talking about box office today.
Yeah.
So it stayed in theaters for a while, even at its length. That garnered a lot of goodwill, and I think the same thing's going to happen. They're going to want to see it that opening weekend.
Yeah.
So
It will be bigger than the first.
Yeah.
I think
agree.
it will, and I think a big part of that is, aside from the fact that it's anticipated by the audience who saw the first one, there's a lot of people who didn't want to go and see the first one in movie theaters because they weren't considering themselves a fan of horror.
Yes.
But we've seen a shift in horror, and a lot of it was, really sort of given a good kick in the ass by the first It movie that saw It Chapter 1 and are like, okay, I'm on board now. So I think you've got that additional audience who simply didn't think they wanted to see the first one,
True.
and now can't wait for the second one.
Yeah.
So I'm super psyched for that. Let's talk about a couple of trailers that came out this week. We've already touched about The Irishman. The Lighthouse trailer dropped this week and had some tremendous response online. It's already shown at a number of festivals, I believe. It's a movie that everything from the ratio of the trailer, and I mean, I would crawl over broken glass to see anything with Willem Dafoe in it.
Yeah.
He is he's one of the nicest guys. And 2, even in a bad film, Willem Dafoe is always exemplary.
Right.
This, to me, and Robert Pattinson, we talked about this on the show previously, he's seriously in his element right now.
So good.
He's pulling out some amazing roles and some amazing performances. And again, as I've said before, if you haven't seen The Rover with him and Guy Pearce, go and see The Rover. Amazing movie.
Yes. Yeah,
wildly, underseen.
Absolutely.
This to me is just, I was clapping my hands with glee watching this movie. It looks mental. Absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on this?
And you kind of have to go in knowing that it's sort of a cheat, like kind of like The Witch was kind of a cheat. They cut a phenomenal trailer for that.
Same director.
Right? Same director,
yeah.
And then you see it, and if you were expecting a faster paced traditional horror movie, you didn't get it. I loved The Witch. I think we're going to get something similar here with The Lighthouse. I think they cut an amazing trailer, but just for the look, it's New England style. It's supposed to take place in New England. Willem Dafoe, Pattinson. I love the look of the trailer, and I loved how it was cut. And I love this director just because of The Witch. To me, is one of my favorite horror movies of that year. Can't wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited. I can't. It's weird. It's one of those trailers that I'm not really sure of. I'm not really sure what to think yet, and that's a good thing for me because I don't know what to expect. I have no idea what to expect. I know it's going to look cool.
Yeah.
I know it's going to be a little weird. It could be really boring and lame. I don't know, but there's something about it. The Witch was an absolutely compelling movie, and I know a lot of people didn't like it because it's not your typical horror. But I don't know, there's something about this. And like you said, Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson together?
Yeah. Looks
yeah,
great.
I'm in.
Those beards, man.
I love black and
Those
white
beards.
movies, man. Bring black and white back.
God. Seriously, black and white movies, in the right context.
Oh my God.
Tremendous.
Yes.
Absolutely amazing. So I'm super psyched about that. And
me too.
Hashtag beards.
Is really fascinating. And I love how it starts off in the gas station store.
Yeah.
Right? And she kills these two people, comes out, well, why'd you kill them? Because they lied. Because we're not in Nebraska or wherever it is.
Yeah.
And like you go, oh, okay, so this is different. But then it goes into that hunt and you're like, oh, it's hard target. The female lead seems to be like she's going to carry her own. And I enjoy watching, like, to have a good female lead do this kind of thing. I really like that. Thinking through things. And I know we'll talk about maybe Hobbs and Shaw had a great kick-ass female lead. I like that sort of thing. And you're right. If Blumhouse is doing their spin or take on something, it should be interesting.
Yeah.
I'll be there. I'd like to see it. I saw the trailer last night. It looks great on the big screen.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Very quickly before we move on to something, and then we're going to we got about 15 minutes left on the show, so we're going to go to the reviews in that and box office. But I just want to touch, someone mentioned this, the Tenet teaser has dropped in theaters this weekend, Chris Nolan's new movie. Nobody really knew that was coming. Nobody kind of gave a heads up on that. It took everybody by surprise. I still have a love-hate relationship with Chris Nolan movies. Some of them I'm instantly bowled over, and some I know people get very excited about, but they don't work for me, which is fine. Everybody has their own tastes. Are you excited about a new Chris Nolan project? I'm
always excited about Chris. I'm like you. There's some there's some I think are absolutely brilliant. There's some that don't quite work for me, but I love that he has this fan base, and I like that it gives him the chance to do things that are unique and different.
I like the idea that he's dropping it in theaters first, because we've got into this online thing.
I think that's cool.
But that's what he's always a proponent of that. He, like Spielberg, is a man that will always go for the theatrical experience. I did see the trailer last night. It is a teaser, but I'm on board because it has that Mr. Washington, Black Klansman, who I'm now forever a fan after watching him in that movie.
Yeah, 100%.
The teaser tells you nothing other than it's time for a new kind of hero. It's filmed in 70 millimeter, the way that Nolan loves to work some scenes, so it'll fill out a big IMAX screen beautifully.
And it'll look amazing.
I'm a huge fan of Christopher Nolan, and I have a love relationship. I really enjoy what he puts out because it's going to celebrate going to the movies. And he makes movies, and
he does.
And he's still a man that will show up dressed nicely. He has a plan, and I love when he puts it all together and we see something that we haven't quite seen before. So this looked good. I can't tell you what it's about because it tells you nothing. The movie's not coming out until next year.
Yeah.
So...
Do you know what? It's okay not to tell anybody about the movies. Totally fine.
It's totally okay. I would
Bit of
love it if
surprise.
wouldn't it be great if that was the only trailer? That they just released the one trailer and that's it?
And it's about 30, it's about maybe a minute. It's not a long thing. Right. But I saw this in IMAX too. It looked great.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yeah.
A couple of people in the chat before we move on to box office and the week's movies. The Lighthouse trailer didn't hook me. That's from Zeno Hour. Blair Witch Project. Go listen to the A24 podcast with Robert Eggers and Ari Aster. It's great. After you've watched Meet the Movie Press. Please, thank you. No switching away. Zeno Hour, talking about The Boys. Blair Bitch Project. A24 is doing a great job of encouraging and supporting unique filmmakers.
Agree. 100%.
Audiences just need to turn out and see the goddamn movies.
Yes.
That's the next step.
Yes.
That's true.
Could The Lighthouse be Patterson's first Oscar nom and win? I mean, obviously, I can't say for sure, because I haven't seen the movie.
It depends on how genre it is.
It depends on how genre it is, but I certainly think he's going to get a lot and perhaps
a lot of
around...
great genre performances do not get Oscar nominations. Not even close.
Unfortunately. And yeah, people are talking already about Hobbs Shaw, which we're going to get to in just a second. Blair Witch Project. Nolan is a master. So I think it's very interesting. Oh, and apparently the Tenet trailer leaked, which is a shame. I'm going to wait to see it in movie theaters, to be honest with you, because even though, like I say, I have a love-hate relationship with Chris Nolan's movies, I always go and see them in the movie theater because that is where they're meant to see. Watching Dunkirk on the phone is pointless.
Same thing with Inception or Interstellar.
Anything at all. So let's talk about box office, and then we're going to go into week's big reviews of the movies. Universal's Hobbs and Shaw Thursday night previews, $5.8 million. That doesn't suck. It's not too bad, but I believe it's kind of below what the other films in the franchise have actually had in previews. So the opening weekend is now, I think, looking around the 50 million mark, which is a bit lower than expected.
65.
But I think it's going to go more. I mean, I genuinely, there are a lot of people who are talking about this movie.
I would be surprised if it doesn't go more,
I think it can do 60, 65 easily.
Because I also think it's going to get pretty... Look, I didn't love the movie. I really enjoyed it, but I think it's about a half hour too long. but
it
with
could
that
be trimmed.
said, it could be trimmed. But it's still fun. It's a good time. I would be surprised if it doesn't.
But I mean, I was surprised last year when Skyscraper didn't land for Dwayne, and it's one of my favorite movies that he's done.
Yeah, but this is a character he's played before. This is a beloved character, both of them. So I would see more 70, 80.
It's still looking like it's going to be topping the charts. According to Box Office Mojo, it's going to be about, they're saying 65, other people are saying 50-ish. The Lion King is going to be down into second place, 38.4. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is going to go third place, 20 million. For a Tarantino movie to go 50% on second week is actually pretty
biggest
good.
Opening, so
biggest opening,
absolutely.
so he's done pretty well on that one.
Good for him.
Spider-Man: Far From Home, Toy Story, Crawl is still out. If you haven't seen Crawl, go and see Crawl.
Please, it's amazing.
Aladdin, The Farewell yesterday in Stuba. So it's great to see The Farewell in the top 10 because it's only on like 400 theaters across the whole of the United States. So to be in that a number of theaters and to still be mid-table top 10
word of
is
mouth,
good.
Man. Word of mouth helps.
I would be so delighted if I was involved in that movie. I wasn't, but I would be. Great movie. So it's going to be a good weekend for Hobbs and Shaw. Let's talk about that in just a moment. There are a couple of other movies we want to talk about, and I also have to say I'm going to be on the LAOFCS presents the Film Critics review show after this, so do stick around for that. We're going to be looking at all these movies more in depth, but let's go through a few of these. Out this week, Them That Follow. None of us have unfortunately seen that movie. It does look good, and I know it has played at a couple of reviews and got some pretty favourable responses, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes this week. Third release this week is Loose. Now, Demetri, we've all seen this, right?
I missed this one.
Okay, so Demetri, let's have you take the lead on this one. What did you think of Loose?
I think Loose is a modern-day Hitchcockian tale that deals, it's social, moralistically challenges. To me, this movie, I didn't know who's who until the end. And I'm not saying that as it being a mystery, but people's motivations in this movie change on a snap. And the topics that this movie brings up, I think, are so discussion worthy. And I think the performances to a T were fantastic. I was riveted. And at the same time, I was kind of appalled. I was because you could see this happening. And it really is a clear argument against if you see something, say something. And it's really just a fascinating tale of this family who has adopted an African-American boy who was raised in military kind of thing. And he's brought up to be this he's going to be a valedictorian. He's a great debater. He's a great orator. And it's what happens when he chooses for a paper to write about this, I believe, some fascist in history who believes in violence. And then it sort of kind of raises a red flag in a teacher, and they do a peek in the locker, and they find illegal fireworks. And then it's like, whoa, what do we do with this? And then, was the search legal? And then this just casts this web that you never know between right and wrong and what the moral choice is here. Yeah. I thought it was brilliant. I really did. It was very simply directed, but the performances were fantastic. Kind of reminded me of Ben is Back, because Ben is Back, like motivations, you never know what the motivations
amazing movie.
I had something similar watching this.
And there's an element of like, are you protecting the younger character in this, or are the parents protecting themselves?
Right.
What do they do? And it's about loyalty. There's a lot going on in this movie. The performances are across the boards. Even from sort of the less key characters, kind of the level B characters. The performances are stellar with this movie. This is a movie that literally came out of nowhere. But it's one of the best movies of the year.
Did you know it was a play? I didn't know.
I had no idea. I literally knew nothing about this until I saw it, and then I researched it more. So I went into this completely blind, which I think is the way that you really need to go into this. It's one of those movies where that really plays a benefit. I mean, stellar performances. The script is beautifully written. As an adaptation, it's incredible. It really is a great movie.
I'm sold.
Well, yeah, but it's a real kind of sit down and just take it in. Go in blind and just take it in and let it happen.
You can see it kind of happening.
Yeah.
And it deals with regular people. And Ma, why can't I think of her name? Octavia Spencer.
Yeah.
Well, she totally makes up for Ma.
100%.
Hey, Ma was fun.
Which, do you know that made me more angry about Ma, because I'm like, I was like, you're so good, Octavia. So good. What happened with Ma?
It was fun.
I'm liking the unpopular movies today.
So, Luce, if you can find that, I know it's not getting the widest release, but seriously, Luce, spelled Luce, is definitely worth checking out.
And Rent Ma, is it what you're saying?
No. It's the perfect double bill if you only watch Luce.
How dare you?
Okay, The Nightingale is another movie that comes out this week from the director and writer of The Babadook. It's more kind of dark. It's not horror. I would describe it as a gothic thriller. When we received this screener, did you see this, Demetri?
I did.
When we received the screener, it came with a warning because of some of the content within the film, which I think, for me, the warning that came with it made it appear that it was actually going to be more in your face and more edgy than it actually was. As edgy and as graphic as some of this film is. So that, I was kind of like, oh, okay, this is terrible, but it's not the terrible I was expecting. It's a powerful, interesting movie. Again, I came to this one pretty blind, purely knowing, the heritage of the director and writer, and she is amazing. But this is a film that really, it's a revenge story. It's a tale as old as time, but told in a very new and unique way, with a lot of interesting social beats that are still very prevalent now. Jimmy, I know you're also a fan of this movie.
Yeah, well, let me start off with, if you like movies like, say, Lady Vengeance, or let's go more sleazy, I Spit on Your Grave, this is not that movie at all. It is a revenge tale, and it feels like The Babadook in the sense that she creates a more grounded view of this
Great
kind
way
of
to describe
what
it.
this girl goes through, what happens to her, why she goes on this journey, why she meets this other guy. You want to know a little about this movie as possible because it's such a fascinating story. It's weird because I don't even know how I feel about the ending yet. Yeah. I'm still thinking about it, which to me is always interesting. I like when a movie, even if I don't enjoy the movie, I like when it keeps me thinking and I'm still like, wait a second. And that, the two lead performances are two of the best of the year, by far. Yeah. By far.
This for me was completely different in context, but it reminded me of a movie that's coming out next year that played at Cannes this year, a movie called Bull. Which I was absolutely impressed with. This has a completely different story, completely different context, completely different setting, but some of the beats were very similar. Demetri on The Nightingale.
To me, it is a horror movie.
Oh, sure.
It has monsters. It has ghosts. They were created by the monster, and it is brutal. I had never seen an oppressed kit. This has trigger effects, and they warn you. This is as brutal, if not more brutal, than say Irreversible.
See, I didn't think it was.
Oh,
I didn't think it would. But she's brutalized for 10 minutes.
Oh, Jesus.
I mean,
but the brutality. For me, the brutality went all throughout the movie.
But it's a more realistic, maybe because it feels more realistic, and you feel like this is going to happen, this is how it happens on a daily.
But that's why I found it to be extremely brutal. Yeah. Not like Devil's Rejects.
Not shock for shock. Yeah.
I think Jennifer Kent is an amazing voice for cinema.
Remarkable.
I mean, Hollywood really need be paying attention to her because, as I had written, she punches the face of the mundane. And this movie, there were times where it looked beautiful. I was reminded of The Revenant.
Yep. Yeah, very much like that's a great comparison.
Another revenge tale, but man,
again, very different.
Very different.
Very different.
But I really found the movie to be powerful, but it is brutal. I do not believe it's for the faint of heart.
No, it is definitely not.
No.
On another note, before we move on to Hobbs and Shaw, Sam Claflin in this.
Someone
we had this discussion.
Yes.
Who is often is the nice pretty boy kind of thing. In this, he is a fucking monster.
He's awful.
And
awful.
And his best performance to date.
This movie is terribly prevalent, by the way. I'm sorry, I get the word wrong. It's dealing with themes. It's a period piece, but my God, it feels so relevant.
There's
today.
a lot of modern resonance.
He sheds his teen idol.
Oh my
skin.
God, he does. He's a guy that unfortunately few of us know a guy like this, and you don't want to.
So we've only had a couple of minutes now, unfortunately, left on the show, but The Nightingale is another one that you really should check out this week if you can. The big release of the movie, obviously, we've already discussed and mentioned this, Hobbs and Shaw. Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw. I'll go on this very quickly, and then you guys can take to the end of the show. One of the most ridiculous movies I've seen in years.
Yes.
I mean, it's absolutely, it's ridiculous, but it is so much fun. This, to me, it's not my favorite movie in the franchise, but it's one of the ones that I've had the most fun with. Some people were saying in the chat that, they wish they hadn't seen the trailers. I think some of the
trailer gives all of it away.
Too much away. I try to avoid a lot of the trailers. But seriously, it is ridiculous, but it is fun. Kirby is amazing. She is a scene stealer in this.
It's worth saying for her.
Yeah.
She's that good.
There are certain things in the movie that I had problems with, like in the final third. 1 minute it was dark, next minute it was daylight, next minute it was the middle of the night again. I mean, this is a stupid movie.
And the age between Jason and
Vanessa Kirby. I mean, they're meant to be brother and sister.
Come on.
There's like 15 to 20 years. And they played together as kids? No. But I mean, it's classic rock. It's classic Statham.
It's a blast.
I'm a shill for my brother Jason Statham, but thanks. But yeah, no, seriously, it's a great fun. I mean, Demetri, your thoughts on this?
I had a blast. I actually found it to be more entertaining than the past few Fast and Furious movies. As ridiculous as it was, I didn't find it to be as ridiculous as, say, the last Fast and Furious movie, which was completely ridiculous. But the best part about it were Hobbs and Shaw. And this movie, this one kind of reminded me more of the Fast and Furious, where they had the bank heist. And they're like
five in Brazil
right.
Yeah.
It had that kind of nonsense, E equals MC squared kind of like we're gonna
great cameos
the
by
laws
the way
of science. But I had a good time. These two together, if they could make something else other than Hobbs and Shaw, I'd be up for it.
They are great together.
It seemed to be, and I liked how they brought some of their friends from other movies.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. The cameos here are amazing,
Of that out, but I had a blast. It runs a little too long.
I did see that killed it for me. It could have been like amazing.
Yeah.
But there's one section of the film I'm like, it's completely unnecessary. There's no point in that being there. It takes away from the fun. And they do the banter gets a little stale after a while. You're like, okay, come on, you're about to like do something incredibly impossible, and they're having like this banter, and you're just like, okay, come on, move on, move on. Yeah. But no, I still enjoyed it. I think fans of the series are going to have a great time.
I think the word of mouth is going to be really good.
For sure.
The crowd I saw it with last night, which was a paying crowd, they applauded. They stayed to the very, very,
it's
very,
going to be
very
a big
end.
hit. Yeah,
I think so. I think people are. I had a blast.
It's Vanessa Kirby. Vanessa
Kirby, and
she's the MVP of this one.
And of tentpole movies this summer,
it's seriously, it's.
Good point.
You pay your money, you have a great time.
You get what you see in the trailer. It doesn't cheat you. No. And for what we've seen this summer, this is definitely a better one.
Guys, thank you so much today. We got a lot in. Really appreciate it. Demetri, who are you? Where can we find you?
Right here, Meet the Movie Press at Demetri Panos on the Twitters. Please support.
Jimmy to the O.
Jimmy to the O. JimmyO. Arrow in the head.
God, thank you so much for coming back, Demetri. Good to see you. I'll be back next week. Scott is off today. He's going to be back next week with another guest panelist. Thank you so much. You guys are this show. We need your support to grow. If you like this show, like, subscribe, comment below the video. We'd really appreciate it. You can find us on so many other platforms. Thank you so much. I will be back next week. Have a good one. Simon Thompson, at Shabby Simon on Instagram and Twitter. Have a good one.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.